is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
We are back the way home.
We haven't been anywhere, girl. The way home is back.
The way home is back.
This is our 18th episode of the day, guys. Let's talk about the way home for a second. Man, what a roller coaster before the first episode even drops.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be on the streamer. No, it's going to be on linear. No, and now it's going to be in the here. I'm just freaking.
It wasn't that much back and forth. It's going to be on the streamer. No, it's going to be on linear and the streamer. There were two steps.
Why do you dismiss my feelings about it? It was a roller coaster to me.
It was. I thought it was a wild choice to move it to the streamer. I'm glad they reversed course. I think switching, especially when it's on the same network. It's not like it got canceled by Hallmark and picked up by like Netflix, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they made the right choice by their fans.
I still hate this Friday night premiere, though.
I think the date is super weird. I don't know why they did that. I'm sure they're like, oh, crud, there's no room in our programming to slip this in.
It messes with our recording schedule.
Yeah, it's hard on us.
To be quite frank.
I do like that. I feel like they've heard the cries from their fans, and they've also added, you know, in 2025, everything on linear will be streaming next day on Hallmark Plus. You can't really know how things are going to play out until they play out. They tried it. It didn't work their way. They're doing it differently. I'm going to give them some credit for that. It's a new year. I'm a new me.
As opposed to what?
I don't know. I felt like you were giving me a look for taking the stance.
No, I felt like a lucky one that we were getting it on Hallmark Plus before linear.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just keep it on Thursdays on Hallmark Plus and then drop it linear on Fridays.
I don't either.
Especially because it's going to be the one thing that drops on Hallmark Plus on Saturdays. But alas, it is what it is.
I gotta say, I'm really excited that The Way Home is back for season 3. This is truly one of the greatest dramas on TV.
I was so excited. When I fired up this episode, I was like, oh, Kat and Dell and Alice are back.
Yeah, I even texted Megan. I was like, I'm watching The Way Home, and it is as good as it's ever been.
Agree.
This episode is called You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. Oh, yeah.
Before we dive into our thoughts on this episode and recap the wild ride, this episode was directed by Grant Harvey, who returns. He's directed a number of these episodes in the past.
Yeah, a ton of them, right? Yep. I like when the director's consistent.
Oh, yeah. I think it helps with
consistent storytelling.
Consistency.
Yep.
This episode was written by Heather Conkey,
the creator.
Yeah.
One of the 3 creators.
So as a reminder,
you need a refresher, right? Don't you think so?
As I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah. So season two ends. Kat believes Thomas has been killed. She's believed he's been murdered for treason. She leaves him behind. Jacob returns home under the pretense that it was time to come home. We learn that that was not actually his reason for leaving. We also learn that Thomas is still alive.
Yeah, hashtag Tomcat lives forever.
There's also a full circle moment, and I think we're going to get another one of those in this season. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we see the woman at the pond with a little boy at the pond, you know, saying the pond will take you where you need to go, Colton. We learn that it's Colton.
Yes.
Or a Colton. I suppose Colton could be a junior, but I'm just going to assume it's Daddy Colton.
I think so.
At the pond. Again, that does give weird, like the costuming in that scene is hard to orient in time.
Totally.
So there are still a lot of questions there at the end of season 2.
Yes.
Speaking of questions, this season 3 opens on the banks of the pond yet again. And we have a couple placing a baby in a basket.
With a note.
Wendy noticed.
I noticed the male of the couple was wearing a pair of Doc Martens.
Yeah, so it's not 1814.
No.
Although I suppose it could be.
It could be, but it's not.
But they're not from there.
And the girl is wearing like a denim jacket.
Yes.
It's giving 90s, actually.
Okay, so, or even 70s.
Maybe. I know what theory you're going to go with, but I have an opposing theory, I think.
All right, so we were just sitting here talking about this moment. They leave the baby behind. They jump in the pond. I'll tell you my theory. It's wild. It's wacky. I know nothing at this point. I've only seen this episode. My wild and wacky theory is, what if it's Colton and Dell from a different era? What if this is 1970s Colton and Dell? They have a teen pregnancy. They time travel to future Colton and Dell, who already have Kat at home.
Mm-hmm.
And they deliver their second baby to the pond to be found by adult Colt. And they know it's coming because it's them from the future.
It's very interesting.
And they jump back in the pond. Tell me your opposing theory.
My opposing theory is, upon watching the scene again, the gal has straightened hair. I don't think it's 70s Dell. I think it is, I don't know. I'm thinking it's like Sadie Snow, which that is not her name, Alice. I'm thinking it's Alice because it could be present day Alice. You know what? I don't know. I'm not even going to like hypothesize because I'm always wrong anyway. I'm just going to let it come to me. Just give me the story as it is. I don't know though. For some reason, like I'm caught on thinking like the straightened hair look like Alice with straightened hair jumping into the pond.
I mean, as you'll recall, when we saw the White Witch in the first season, we never guessed that it was Kat. We guessed that it was Alice or Dell, never that it was Kat.
Yeah.
So there could be a little bit of a red herring here. I do want to tell you that I saw on an Instagram story shared by Sadie Snow, she showed at one of Alice's her curly wig, and she's like, oh, there's also a straight one. Which I guess makes sense because girlfriend's jumping in ponds all the time. Her natural hair would be wet. It'd be a lot of...
Yeah, send her back to the trailer to blow dry her hair. And it needs to look like
styling.
this. Yeah.
A little peek behind the curtain. And this episode does pick right up where we left off on season 2.
With the exception of this like scene that they've thrown in there, this baby scene.
Yeah, but our actual characters that we know...
Yes, Kat and Jacob
are waiting outside the house. And they go in.
I gotta tell you, like, I told Megan, I said, if I turned around at my son that has been missing for 25 odd years, I would have like fell over and died. He just cruises in, Mom. I'm surprised at her reaction.
I'm very surprised by her reaction. And later on, Kat even says to her, like, you really accepted that. And she was like, Jacob's home. That's all I need to know. Like, it must be true. He's here. He's in front of me.
That is not the Dell that we have gotten to know in the last 2 years.
Well, Dell has secrets.
Dell does have
so
secrets.
What are those secrets? We don't know. Really lovely moment. Jacob sees Alice, has a moment of confusion, and Kat says, this is my daughter, Alice. And she says, it's really good to see you again.
Yeah, this was a really good scene when everybody is like recognizing each other, who they are. Like, this has been the course of this show for the last 2 years, is getting this boy home, and now he's home. It's very like, what's the word? Climactic. It's not anticlimactic. It's very emotional.
Absolutely.
Emotionally charged. We've been waiting for it. So it pays off finally.
It's funny because Dell's like, how do you know Alice? And what's funny to me here is I'm like, how does Jacob, who was 8 years old at the time that he went missing, remember Alice and Dell doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
You know, just the trauma from losing Jacob has muddied all of her memories from the time.
Yeah, likely.
Of course, Kat has to like rush over and let Elliot know that Jacob is home. At Elliot's house, he has found a mysterious clock in the wall that he decided to demo in the name of demolishing the past, moving past some painful memories.
What do you think this clock means?
I have no idea. I have no guesses.
Why is there a clock in the wall?
Elliot's like, the house with the clock in the walls.
Well, I'll have to see how that unfolds. I'm sure.
It's got to mean something.
It absolutely means something.
When Kat butts in and tells Elliot that Jacob is home, she's also like, oh, BT dub, Thomas is alive. And you see Elliot's face go like, but
why did Kat even tell him?
Well, maybe she's a new person. She just wants him to have all the information. Like, can you imagine him finding that out like from Jacob and being like, why didn't you tell me? Like, because in this moment,
It's in the 1800s.
she's like, forget about it. I choose you and I choose now. Yeah, but Jacob's here. I mean, Elliot knew, I don't know if he knew the extent of her relationship with Thomas, but he knew there was something there.
Mm-hmm. He knew there was somebody else. Yes.
Yeah. So the only reason for her to keep that from him is because she's still hiding something.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, I choose you and I choose now. It is really weird to me, like how accepting Dell is. And with especially how contentious her relationship has been with Kat on and off, even though they've had some growth, she does ask like why Kat didn't tell her. And she's like, well, I mean, I understand. Like, I don't want to hurt you. It's a crazy story for someone to believe. It makes sense that she didn't tell her, but I could also, in Dell's perspective, I'd be like, you were hunting him the whole time and you never let me in on that. I thought the Dell that we know would have pushed that harder.
Yeah, she would have been pissed off about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely.
There's some like growing pains here because Jacob wears Colton's clothes.
It's kind of creepy to me. Like, is he in hiding at this point?
It's been like a day at this point. Like, it doesn't seem like much has passed.
So they're not like running out to the JCPenney and grabbing him some JCPenney. Whoa. But they're not like out grabbing him something to wear. Like, he can't be walking around in his like 1800s.
They still have Colton's clothes from 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's weird too. Why aren't they borrowing something of Elliot's?
Good question. It is weird. It's a weird in between because like Dell brings him his teddy bear. He goes to sleep in his old room, which hasn't really changed, even though Kat's been staying there. It's got to be really weird for Dell to have this like gigantic blank space. Like,
Yeah.
he was a child. He's an adult. How do I treat him? And it takes her some time to adjust. One of the questions we had at the end of last season is also about the engagement ring that Casey wore on a necklace around their neck.
That Alice saw, yes.
Yeah. And Alice shows Kat the picture. And Kat's like, do you think they're a time traveler? Like, they worked for me all summer. They had a cell phone. And my favorite line, and they were not remotely damp.
Oh, I did not catch that. That's hilarious. Very funny. And I think Kat should be asking, because why does Kat think she and Alice are the only ones who can time travel via the pond? So, well, now she knows Jacob can too.
But they're all Landrys.
Yeah, but I mean, anything is possible.
I know. Kat just went through all of this over the past year to bring Jacob home. You'd think, right? She of all people would be like, well, maybe they are a time traveler.
Yeah.
That's not crazy. I just brought my brother back from 1814. I had a 200-year apart affair. Like,
But God, no, Casey can't be from the future or from the past or from wherever.
yeah, Alice
Outer
is not
space. I mean, like, Jesus Christ.
dropped in by drone. Alice is not really buying Kat's like push off. She's definitely still like, something's up here.
Well, and that's what I like. I want Alice to be pursuing some other storyline.
Yeah.
It gives interest to whatever Alice is doing.
Agree. Totally agree.
And there was always some weirdness between Casey and Alice anyway. There was always like weird looks and weird sort of like.
Well, in Alice, I always felt like every time Alice was confronted with Casey, Alice would kind of push them off. Like,
Yeah.
Alice did not seem like she was all that interested in engaging with Casey.
Yeah. I'm excited for this storyline to come to fruition.
Speaking of things people have to grapple with, Jacob has to grapple with the loss of Colton. And he asks like how it happens, and Dell's like, oh, we don't have a lot of answers. Which I thought was interesting because it's a car accident. I know that like the circumstances around it are a little bit weird, but they do know he was in a car accident.
Yeah, he died from a car accident. So why wouldn't she just say he died in a car accident?
Yeah, I think we're to believe there's more to come.
Well, we know that Kat and Alice played a role in that, but the way that Dell answers the question, Dell doesn't know that information.
Yeah, it leads us to believe like that there's more coming.
Yes.
Tiny Sam and Dell scene, like he arrives and Dell's like, you can't come in right now.
I was like, why are you calling him Tiny Sam?
A tiny moment between Sam and Dell. Yeah, I mean, she can't let him in and be like, this is my son.
Yeah, she's like, this is not a good time right now. Elliot, come on in. But Sam, you got to stay outside.
Yes. So I really loved Elliot and Jacob's reunion.
Yeah, again, do we believe that Jacob remembers who Elliot is as an 8-year-old? Can you remember anybody from being 8 years old?
Like my brother's best friend from when I was 8 years old. No.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to accept it in this moment.
Okay.
Especially after Jacob and Elliot hug, Kat kind of like leans into Elliot's arms and Jacob's like, oh, it took you long enough, which is so funny because like, is 8-year-old Jacob like, you two like each other, you should be in love.
Yeah. He's not.
Still thought it was cute.
It was cute.
And they have a family meeting at the kitchen table where they make the most obvious statement ever. The pond will remain a family secret.
It does not leave this table.
Like, what are you going to be like? My brother came back from 1814 from a pond. What are they going to do?
Bye-bye. Enjoy your padded cell room. Yeah, no way.
So they make up a story. They have a press conference, and Kat's like, they lived off the grid.
I kind of like this whole press conference thing. I like the way they shot it. They made it look like it was like an actual press conference. It was giving Gone Girl vibes to me.
With like the flashes going off. And,
yeah. You know, missing boy returns home after 20 some odd years.
Deathbed confession.
Deathbed confessions.
Yeah, I thought it was cool too. I thought it was a good choice.
But here's when I go, okay, it doesn't just stop here. They don't just get to live their life here.
Law enforcement's like, cool, he's home. Have a nice
Case
life.
closed. Like, so stupid. Like, I feel like the FBI would be involved here. They would want to know. Are there doctor records of this kid being like treated by professionals? Where did he go to school? Like, who were the family that raised him? There would be lots of questions.
The Port Haven police are like, we are overworked. Thank you for handling this story. Case closed.
Yeah, it's too easy, but like, I'm gonna let it slide here because this is a.
We got bigger fish to fry here. Why is there a clock in the wall? Who is that baby in a basket?
Yeah, they've given us enough in the 10 minutes we've seen so far that we can just slide past this. Like,
we don't need
Jacob reunification.
We don't need procedural law here. And then we fast forward 9 months.
Oh, I'm so glad they did that actually too.
Yes, me too. It's perfect. I didn't need to see the day-to-day of Jacob being like, what is a cell phone?
What makes this car run?
Well, he understands an internal combustion engine because he was alive, but like technology has advanced. Like, what is Netflix?
What's a streaming service?
Yes.
And you're putting the show on one? Hilarious.
Let's break it down by character.
Okay.
Let's talk with Jacob.
Okay.
Jacob's in a weird spot. He's been gone for all these years.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of expectations to be like, Jacob, now you just got to reacclimate. We're in 2025 now.
Yeah, I think there's some weirdness happening because he works on the farm. He's helped Dell out on the farm doing farm stuff. I don't fully understand what they do there.
Me neither.
But he appears to be doing it. And Dell doesn't really know how to treat him. Like, she's still treating him like a child. Like, she drives his lunch out to him every day.
Yes. She does not treat Kat or Alice that way either.
No, but Kat or Alice, she's not missing a 25-year gap of their lives.
I know, so she's trying to like make up for lost time here, or she's just trying to like keep her thumb on him a little bit. She doesn't want to lose him again.
Yeah, is it that, or is it like he's 8 years old in her mind? Like she can look at him, she can see that he's an adult, but she never saw any of that happen. She never saw him like go to high school and get acne and like learn to drive a car, and like he went from boy to man. He didn't have like an awkward "your teeth are too big for your mouth" phase. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, imagine, like, picture your kid at 8 years old in
girl, you don't have to explain it.
grade.
I understand.
And now you fast forward to after her college graduation.
Yeah, I know. That's real hard for Dell, I'm sure.
For Dell, for everybody.
Kat seems to fall in line, like no big deal.
Yeah, Kat's had a lot more time. Also, it's not her child; it's her brother. And Kat's trying to like break him out. She's like, "Why don't you come work for me at the Herald, the paper that I single-handedly run on my own?"
Sometimes. When I'm not traveling to 1800s. Yeah, or the 1970s. Here is the other thing about Jacob. I do feel bad for him. I feel like Dell is keeping him a little sheltered.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But he also needs to be contained a little bit because Jacob in the 1800s was a bad guy, right? He did bad things. And he got into fights and et cetera, et cetera. So, like, you got to rein him in a little bit. We're just going to let this dude loose downtown at what is the name of that restaurant?
The Point?
Cove? The Point?
You think he's gonna hold him up
No, I just think
with his musket? Yeah, I honestly have forgotten. Like, what's the motivation for Jacob doing bad things in the past? Was he like a bad
he
guy?
was a smuggler. He was
No.
he was working for what's his face?
Thomas.
Yes.
Life was harder in 1814.
Sure.
We also see like Jacob has like a flash of his Polaroids, like taking those photos, and he goes to look for them under his desk and they're gone.
Yeah.
And this is where we start to see some flashes of Colton. And in this same memory, there's Colton's like telling Jacob to stay away from the pond.
Yes, that's great, actually. Because it's telling us Colton knew more than we have been led to believe.
Yeah, and there's another flashback where Colton is saying to Jacob, "I love you no matter what happens or what will happen." And Jacob clearly thinks that Colton knew about the pond.
Yeah. I'm happy that Colton doesn't just live on in memory, like that there's more going on with Colton.
Yeah.
I like that they didn't just completely write him out of the story because they could have easily written him out of the story.
Jefferson Brown Colton?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad he's still here. I'm
Yeah.
glad they found a way to make that work. Alice, on the other hand, has been away visiting her dad for the summer. And she comes home and they're so funny because she takes a cab home and they're like, she took a cab. Like,
From like the airport?
yeah. I just thought it was funny. They like,
cabs anymore.
I know. Why wasn't it an Uber?
Mm-hmm. But she's had a little glow up over the summer. Not even really a glow up. She's just growing up a little bit.
She's in like a 3-piece suit when she gets out. She looks cute, but I'm like, is that how 17-year-old kids dress?
Not mine.
I mean, she does look really cute. Like they did. She looks older, but she is 17. She still has a year left of high school.
Yeah. Watching this, I was like, what year are we in? Like, has she spent, like, where are we in time?
Yeah.
I was like, are we post high school at this point with her now? But no, we are not. She's coming back for her senior year in high school.
Coming back for her senior year, she talks about her 5-year plan. Like she's got big plans. She was influenced by her dad's girlfriend, Rachel, who works in PR. And we also get an answer to a question that remained unanswered for all of last season. And that is the coils sticker on her guitar,
Thank
which
you very much.
clocked. Kat sees it and she was like, what is this? Because it's Colton's old guitar.
Yes.
And Dell's like, the point used to be called coils. So look, Thomas Coyle is not gone. Thomas Holden Reed is not gone.
I know. I love it.
Tomcat, I have some thoughts on, but I don't think it's over.
I don't think it's over either. I hope not. I hope he shows up somehow, some way. I don't know. The pond will take you where you needs to go. If the pond takes you where you need to go, why did the pond take Jacob to 1800?
That's what we don't know yet.
It's still unclear.
Speaking of the pond, Alice misses the pond. Like, they miss it. They miss time traveling. There's a lot of good things that happened in their time travel. And they go down there, and Alice tells Kat, like, I used to, like, come here and talk to you. Alice tells Kat, like, maybe you should talk to Susanna. Like, maybe this would help you process some of what you're going through. And then she's like, nah, don't talk to her. Just hop in.
That was weird. I think they needed to close this loop, though, with 1800.
But I don't think it's closed.
I don't think so either. But I don't know.
I mean, when she goes back, like she checks in with Elijah. She goes back to just like a few days after she had originally left. She is able to tell Elijah like Jacob's okay. She goes to visit Susanna. Susanna, not particularly warm to Kat.
No, it's like when we first met Susanna. Remember, she was like mean and kind of scary. She was the same way to Kat.
Now, I think Susanna's like, she's worried. That's the explanation she gives. Like,
well, Kat's a dead woman walking.
Yeah, they believe her to be the White Witch.
Exactly.
So Susanna has reason to be worried about Kat. But in my notes, I said, my thoughts of Susanna's affection for Kat aren't deterred here. I still feel like there's some romantic feelings.
Absolutely.
And before she leaves, she encourages Susanna like to keep writing because her book has been published at this point. I got a little like lost in the time travel weeds again. I was like, wait, has she written it already? Does she need to write it? What's happening if Kat doesn't tell her to write? But after Susanna like makes Kat leave and Kat seems very sad about it, Susanna pulls out the charcoal sketch of the My Catherine painting. My Catherine. That's another question we didn't get fully answered. Like we started to assume that maybe it was Thomas because he paints and he calls her Catherine.
Yeah, didn't we also assume it was Jacob at one point too? Who painted the picture?
Well, Colton calls her My Catherine.
Yeah.
I think Susanna loves Kat.
So do I. And I like this revelation that we finally have the artist of the painting. But what was that painting doing in Lingamore?
What was it doing there? And Kat like tries to talk it out with Elliot, and Elliot's like, there's no way Colton knew about the pond and never said anything. But did he? Like, obviously he said things to Jacob. Elliot wants to ask Kat to move in, and he asks Alice her opinion on that. And Alice is all for it. But now they're not going to live in the same house, which is kind of weird. Like, Alice is going to continue living at Dell's.
Yeah, why wouldn't Alice live with her mother?
Yeah, but she apparently is not going to. By the way,
weird.
Big revelation that we learned in 1814 when Kat goes back is that Jacob did not leave because he was going back to his family. He left because he was going to be murdered.
Yes.
He was wanted for treason. He was in danger of being hanged. And Susanna tells Kat that Thomas has also left, but that is not actually true because Thomas finds Kat on the banks of the pond and they share a kiss, which Kat stops quickly, but Tomcat lives on.
She doesn't stop that quickly.
No, she enjoys it for a moment.
Yes. That's why I'm like, is she fully invested in Elliot? I don't know.
Now, with Dell, we've got like a happier Dell, I feel like.
Yeah, what do you think?
Oh, she's getting that sweet, sweet Sam love on the slide.
I think so, yeah.
Well, plus Jacob's home. She doesn't have this like dark cloud hanging over her head. Yeah, but we find out that she and Sam are like sneaky link in the barn.
Yeah. What we have not talked about yet is the letters that Dell is getting.
We know what you did last summer.
Basically. Do you know they're coming out with another movie of that with Jennifer Love Hewitt?
I did not know.
Yes.
I saw that movie in the theater and I screamed out loud.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, so these letters, who could they be from? What are they talking about? Are they referring to the lie about Jacob's return?
Or is there something else?
There's so many questions.
Because Ghost Colton is there, like, talking her through it. Like, you're going to have to do something about this. In the meantime, Dell finds Colton's old demo tape and she brings it to a dinner party and plays it. And it's like a happy little moment. Like Dell really loves this like Colton memory. And everyone's like, why didn't he make an actual record? And she's like, oh, it's a long story. Like more freaking secrets. Tell the story. Now's the time.
Too many secrets. Yeah, exactly. Tell the story. Now is the time.
In this moment, Alice sees someone running around outside and she goes to check it out.
Would you dart outside to go look for somebody who you see?
Speaking of, I Know What You Did Last Summer, it's like a horror film.
Running around on your property. You're not like, hey guys, somebody's running around on our property. Instead, you're like, no, let me go run after them.
Yeah, in the dark, in the woods. They're like,
No,
Mom,
thank you.
Elliot, get out there.
Yeah, nope.
I don't see Elliot being the type to run after the mysterious figure either. Call the police, who are useless in Port Haven. Dell is like, a lot's happening in this final scene. Like Dell's telling Jacob she understands that she's being overprotective. Kat reveals that she visited 1814 and it gave her. She does not reveal everything she did in 1814. But Elliot and Kat are going to have a nice moment. He asks her to move in. He puts on the Colton record. And then Kat's like, what was that? And it's Alice.
Alice is singing a duet with Colton on this recorded record from the 70s. And so Kat's like, what the hell is my daughter doing with my dad in the 70s?
She goes running out to find Alice. Meanwhile, Alice has chased this intruder to the banks of the pond where she sees a sweater, assuming someone has jumped in. She calls Kat, leaves her a message. Mom. And then splash. Someone pushes her in.
Who pushes her in?
So let's talk about the questions we have coming out of this episode.
Okay.
That's a good one. Who pushed Alice in?
Who pushed Alice in? I don't know, because like pushing her in, what's the motive there? That she goes somewhere?
That's a good question. Like, is this person related to the time travel at all? Or are they just trying to like buy themselves some time to get out of there?
Yeah, maybe they just climbed out of the pond themselves. No, because she just saw them running through the field. So who knows?
Yeah, but maybe they're not like related to this time travel at all. Maybe they're just like sneaking around. Who we do not know.
Just investigating like what's going on.
Yeah, maybe something else is going on there.
Okay. All right.
Who's the baby in the basket and who left the baby in the basket?
Good question.
Coils / the point. Is Thomas Coyle involved there? I think he's got to be.
Good question.
Alice and Colton singing together?
How is that happening?
How much did Colton know about the pond? What was he warning Jacob about? What's the story behind Colton never making an actual record?
Who's writing the letters to Dell? And what does that mean?
Yeah, and what is the lie that they're referring to? Are they talking about her lie about Jacob, or is there something else going on there? Why is she keeping her relationship with Sam a secret?
It might. Maybe she just doesn't want, like, it's a lot to spring on everybody. With Jacob returning home.
Yeah, sure. Fine. But you think Kat's going to be like, nah, Mom.
Kat's not going to care.
No. Why did Jacob go looking for the Polaroids? Is there more there? Is there a clue there?
Where did those Polaroids go?
Kat found them, remember?
Kat has them, right?
What's the significance of the clock found in Elliot's wall? What's going on with Thomas? Like, where's he going? Who painted the painting? I mean, it's Susanna, but like, let's close the loop, right?
Well, and how did it get to Lingamore?
And how did it get to Lingamore? What's going to happen with Kat and Susanna? Like, are we going to reveal more there?
I don't think so.
You don't?
No. I mean, Kat's juggling a lot right now with Elliot, and then we got perhaps Thomas somehow, some way, and Susanna. I don't think so.
Is that message written in invisible ink that was revealed by Kat's spilled red wine in the Alice in Wonderland book, in fact, from Colton? I mean, Kat believes it is. There are many, many questions on this episode 1 of The Way Home. We will be recapping every episode all season long.
I'm so glad this show's back.
I'm so glad it's back too. Thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Gone Hallmark. If you love this podcast, we love your 5-star ratings and reviews. You can leave a rating in Spotify. You can leave a rating and a review in the Apple Podcast app. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.